Hello everybody, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about methods to dissolve clashes. Now this is important when the clash brings about negative things, but there's no guarantee that that's what the clash will do. It will depend on your chart. So I'll show you several examples that hopefully will make this clear. Now, everybody will have a clash year once every 12 years, starting at the age of 5 or 6. It'll start at the age of 5 if you're born after January 1st, but before the start of the solar new year, the new solar new year. And that date is either February 3rd, 4th, or 5th, depending on the year. Now, there are basically two ways to dissolve a clash, and you may naturally have one of these in your chart or one of these elements in your chart. And basically, when that happens, you have fewer problems during a clash year because you naturally are like in sync with solving the problem. You don't have you don't have it's not going outside of your comfort zone to be able to solve the problem. You just naturally do it. Now, there are cases where dissolving the clash may not be necessary and actually might not be good. And I'm going to show you some examples so that you can get an idea of when you should be worried about a clash or not. Now, clashes, if a clash removes a negative combination in your natal chart, then it's a good thing. And if that clash is in your natal chart along with the combination, then you don't want to dissolve the clash because that clash is preventing that negative combination from hurting you. So this is something that you really should pay attention to. And this means you have to look at your chart in some detail. Now, if the clash comes from timing, that is from a year or a luck pillar, it can also remove a negative combination when you may not have it in your natal chart. And that's also a good thing for at least that period of time. So you want to know this, you want to understand this, and I'm hoping that this video will be enough for you to do that. So here's an example of dissolving in clash is actually not good. So here I've got an actual date for you if you want to check this out, but you have a directional fire combination. You have the snake, the horse, and the goat. That's all summer months, that's seasonally summer, and so fire, it's called a fire combination. And this is a weak day master because this is water born in the middle of summer. It has no energy. That's when water is about as weak as it can be. And so that means that fire, earth, and wood, the output ultimately, so wood is the output, um, fire is the wealth, and the earth is the influence. And these are all unfavorable for this person because they're not strong enough to handle all that power. So that's why this is why those three things, the output, the influence, and the wealth, are not good for weekday masters. And that's true regardless of your day master if it's a weekday master. Now, here's a clash. This is the goat and ox clash. And this clash will destroy a directional combination. It will also destroy six harmony. It should also destroy the three harmony, any of the combinations it can destroy. And of the branch combinations, I do not think it can destroy the stem combination. I have not heard that, but I haven't heard it said either way. But since it's not talked about, I'm pretty sure it does not affect the heaven stem combinations. So this clash is good for this person because fire, which is what these three animal signs create, is bad for the daymaster. So you definitely don't want to do anything to dissolve the clash here. If you're born in a different hour so that you don't have the clash, then you want to use some of the ox's natural skills, or you're actually trying to create the clash because the clash is good for you in this case. And there is a very interesting website that has a lot of good information in general. It goes into great detail, and it's Desti Path, like destiny, but take off the NY and then path. And it has all the animal signs. So this is uh, this is actually pretty spot on for me. It talks about for each the location of each animal sign. If it's like say, let's say ox was in the month, what does that mean? It was surprisingly accurate for me, and it's free. So by all means, look this up. It is one of the best simple, easy to read uh, things from anybody that I've read about Batsa. So here's another example. Again, we have the same directional fire combination, and by season, this daymaster is dead. This is metal born in the summer, so metal is about as weak as it's going to get, but it is unusual. It has the right elemental mix to be strong overall, even though it is as weak as possible by season. And that's because it has so many things that support the metal. So what supports metal? Earth does. How many earths does this guy have? He has an earth here, earth here, earth here, and and it's also rooted because this is metal, and the it also has other metal. It has a metal here, it has a metal here, so it has and a metal here also. So it has a lot of things that support it, even though it's weak. So this from the Chinese Metasoft site, it lists fire as an unfavorable element. So it is good to have this clash. So don't do anything to disturb, don't try to dissolve this clash away because it is good for you. And of course, if you're again born in a different hour where you don't have the appropriate element here, then you would be adding the properties of a pig. What comes naturally for a person who was born, like, let's say, in the year of the pig. Now, this is yet another one, and sometimes it is a very good thing to dissolve the clash. So this is a directional fire. Again, I've got the same group just to make it simple. But here we have fire in the born in the fire, so it's prosperous. But interestingly, overall, the chart is almost balanced because it has a lot of things that fire produces, that like the earth and here. We have another earth here, and so it is being, let's say, weakened. Oh, and we have another earth here, so it's being weakened by doing output. So this is like an output chart. So overall, it's almost balanced. And fire is listed as favorable. So you want to have fire. So you do want to dissolve this clash so that this fire can stay. And so this clash, in this case, it's wood that is going to dissolve the clash, but that you will see in a bit. And it'll make more sense when we get there. So it depends on what you have, what you want to do. So I talked about this earlier, but I thought this was a good thing to remind you guys. The closer the animals, the clash animals are in your natal chart, the stronger the effect. And of course, an annual or luck pillar clash will affect whatever the natal pillar is that it's being clashed, So although the year clash is the big one, and that's the one that most people are worried about, and there's good reason for that because it tends to affect any part of your life. The only clash that most people pay attention to is that sixth luck pillar, because it's guaranteed to clash with your month. And it clashes both in the heaven stem, or controls in the heaven stem, and it clashes in the earth branch. So it often is the one luck pillar where you have a lot of trouble with your career, unless you're lucky enough to have the right things going on. And I would say it's probably about 50-50. About half the people have good things, half the people don't. And so, and I have a separate video that talks all about that. It's quite old, but it's there. Now, if we have a clash between the day and the month, that's usually pretty significant. It's usually problems at work. It could be problems that the company you happen to be working for, that you got hired, when you started, somehow things have started to go wrong, and the company is going downhill, and you're kind of stuck there. And or it could be with your boss, it could be with your coworkers. I mean, there's lots of problems that can happen at work, and this will have a very high impact on you. It can make your life quite difficult. The day and the hour is problems either with your kids or your ideas. And these ideas could extend to like things you're thinking of investing in. And it could also affect your investments too. So if you have a natal day hour clash in your chart, then you probably are better off getting a financial advisor than trying to do your own investments, because you aren't terribly suited to invest wisely. So, but there's a very good chance you don't have this clash. But your kids could be a problem even if they're young. But oftentimes let's say it could be very problematic when the kids become teenagers if you have a day and hour clash. So you have to be really careful about this, and try to find ways to make things work. Now, again, this can have a very high impact, and these troubles that you have at home can affect your work too. So these two are the big ones. Now, the year and the month are next to each other, but it doesn't involve you. It doesn't involve the day. So this is medium. And basically, this is the kind of thing where your parents or your grandparents don't like your choice of career. They think you're wasting your time, or you're wasting your skill or something. They feel like you could do so much better, that kind of thing. So, but this is only medium. Unless you are like living with them all the time, you can ignore it most of the time. And if it's the day and the year, again, this is weaker because you've got one pillar, the month pillar, separating it. So it's problems with ancestors. It could be your grandparents, it could be your parents. They could nag you, and you're unhappy with that. They could also, you could find that they have this need for you, and they don't want you to get out and live on your own, kind of thing. Those are all those kind of problems that can happen with this one. But in general, this is only medium. Most people can deal with it without much problem. The month and the hour, this is basically conflicts between work and your kids, or work and your ideas. So your kids may think you work too much. Most young kids think that. But when they become teenagers, this won't be a problem anymore, I'm quite sure. But it could be that your ideas aren't taken seriously at work. Now, as long as it doesn't cause you to be fired, it's not a big deal. So that's why, it's just medium. People just don't pay attention to your ideas, even if they happen to be good. And you might have a good idea and say it, and then people ignore it, and then somebody will pick up on it, maybe tweak it a little bit, and then everybody will love the idea. And that will drive you crazy. But that's what this kind of conflict can give you. Now, the year and the hour, they are two pillars in between the two. A lot of practitioners don't even look at this as a clash because it is so weak. and it doesn't even have any effect on you. It's a clash between your kids and your ancestors, or your ancestors and your ideas. Your grandparents don't like your political ideas. Uh, I mean, unless they're living with you and nagging you every single day, it's not a big deal. And and so you just spend more time outside, at work. And this is how most people deal with it. But in general, this is very low, and it's nothing to worry about. And it doesn't affect your ability to earn money or anything like this. Now, these are the two basic ways to dissolve a clash, and this can be in your natal chart. This can be during a year. Now, one of the ways is to mitigate it by finding what they usually call a mitigating way. You're finding a smoother path to go from your animal sign to the clash animal. And this is the gentler but slower way of solving the problem. There is also a controlling, where you do a certain activity to reduce the energy of the clash animal. And this one is more dramatic. Mitigating is slower, less dramatic, easier to handle. The controlling is faster. It can be more painful in the short run, but it gets rid of the problem faster. So it depends on how critical the problem is, uh, how um, how dramatic or how much it's affecting your life. If it's really important, use the controlling path. It's going to be painful, but it'll get the job done, and then you can just go on. And it really, I mean, I've used this method, and and it was painful, but when it was done, it was great. So here I'm going to talk about mitigation. So if you are a rooster, you're going to clash with a rabbit. During the rabbit year, that's your clash year. If you're a monkey, you're going to clash with the tiger when it's a tiger year. So what we mean by mitigation is you don't directly attack the year. This is what would be was considered countering out. You are countering out to the year. What this means is there's something that you are doing that is the source of the problem. And this can be something that you've done in the past that has worked to solve problems, but this year it's not going to work because it's a different year. It has different energies. So again, your normal mode of solving problems isn't in sync with the year. So you don't attack the year directly. You go through water. You go through the intermediate element to get to where you want to go to deal with the year. And so water is from metal to water to wood. This is in the growth cycle. And using water means becoming more flexible, more adaptable, less rigid, more relaxed about things, and just kind of go with the flow a bit more. Now, how easy this is going to be for you depends on your natal level of water in your chart. If you have very little water, this is going to be hard to do because water is flexibility. And so if you have no water, this is not a route you can take. But if you have a lot of water, you're basically naturally going to do this. You probably don't even have to think about it, and the problem gets solved without you working hard, because if you're high enough in water, it just comes to you naturally. Now, another case is if you are a rat and it's a horse year, or you're a pig and it's a snake year. Here you go through wood. So what is wood? Wood is growth, it's learning. And again, how easy this is will depend on your natal level of wood. Now, this applies to me. My year animal is a pig, and so snake is my issue. And so I know it's coming. So I'm going to be learning new things. And I am already learning new things, of course. But I'm going to target more carefully the things I want to learn next year during the snake year so that I can take care of the problem. And growth is, again, learning something new or going into greater depth with something you already know. Either way works. You become more competent at doing your job or doing other jobs, doing other things that can help you move forward in your life. So that's what using would means. Now, if instead you are the rabbit and it's a rooster year, or you're a tiger and it's a monkey year, the year is clashing you, it's countering into you. And this means that there are issues with the year, just, you know, something about the year, that's the general public kind of thing. I mean, you're not directly involved with this. You can't change the year. It's just the energy, you know, of what's happening. It could be terrible weather. It could be war in another country or your own country, things that you don't have direct control over. And and this affects you. So you could use this path, but you're going backwards. You're using the weakening cycle. And the weakening cycle can work. It just feels a bit weird, or it feels like I don't want to say going backwards, but it feels like you you are all you're doing is making things weaker, not stronger. And so you feel like you are losing things because you're making things weaker. But it can still work. And of course, if you are a horse and it's a rat year, or you're a snake and it's a pig year, you can do the same thing. And here it's still, in both cases, it's still, here's still water, here's still wood. But you don't feel like this is bringing you more into your life. It feels like you're losing something. But in the end, it still gets rid of the problem. So this is just not so natural, but it is doable. So your natural tendency is the desire to change the year to fit you. What you need to do is change your attitude about the year. It's just that this is what the year is. I just have to deal with it. I have to make it work, and just find a way to make it work. That's what this means. Now, if your year is not metal or water, which can use the growth cycle very easily, instead of using the double growth cycle, the controlling cycle might feel a bit more natural, or at least a little easier. It may be more abrupt and maybe a little more painful, but it may feel like this is the easier path for you. And that's fine, because as long as you solve the problem, who cares? Now, this controlling cycle is the method to use if your clash is significant and you need to do something quickly. Now, of course, using the controlling cycle is usually more painful, but it's very quick. And it is worth it if the problem is urgent. And it won't be fun, but then the problem is done quicker. Usually on the whole thing, overall, it's a bit less painful in the long run. It's very painful during the short run, but okay during the long run. Now, this is the controlling cycle. So if you are fire and the year will be water, that's going to clash you, it's clashing into you, then what you need to do is you need to find something that's going to clash the year. That's how this works. Earth clashes water, so you use earth. So if you're a horse and it's a rat year, you fall under this category. And so what is earth? Earth is stability. It could also be nurturing, but it is something where you basically try to improve your routine. Maybe you start a new exercise routine or whatever, but you don't seek out new exciting experiences this year because you're likely to get hurt uh, because it's a clash year. So don't take risky chances. The same thing applies if you're a snake and it's a pig year. Now, of course, you could still go through the water, but you're going backwards, so it feels a little weird. This will feel more natural, usually. Now, if you're a tiger and it's a monkey year, the tiger is wood, the monkey is metal. Again, you could go backwards through water, but here you use fire. It directly attacks the metal, and when the metal is weak, it can't attack you. So fire is passion. So here you're going to seek to experience new things that you can become passionate about, and and it really helps if it's something you can pursue for fun, that you don't necessarily have to worry about work and all this kind of stuff. You can just have just have something that helps inspire you when you're outside of work, and your life will become more interesting, and that then can help you in later clash years because you've already got something. Now the same thing applies for the rabbit during the rooster year. Same exact rules. Now the tricky thing comes when you have a dragon, a dog, a goat, or an ox in your year. Your year and your clash year will all be earth. So there is no way to use mitigation because there's no path to go through uh, to smooth it out. I mean, you would go all the way around if you tried to do that, and that's really almost impossible. So instead, what you do is you use wood to clash into to control the earth. So wood is growth. So you learn something new. It could be a new skill, or it could be a deeper understanding of other things that you already are using. And that usually helps you in your career, or it helps you in your life. And the knowledge that you gain builds over time. And you can then see things and solve more problems as time goes on, the more you learn. So this is the summary. And this is you as a animal sign as your year branch. And if the clash is in your natal chart, I talked about that earlier, it has specific meanings. What I'm referring to in these tables is time clashes. Now you can still use these two, mitigating and controlling, even if it is in your natal chart. It's just that you have to know that this isn't going to switch around through time. So if you are a rat year animal, and of course the horse is your clash year, you can use wood to mitigate it, or you can use water. My recommendation is use which one you have more of. Uh, or if it's a serious problem, just use water. So, of course, if you have no water, you're going to have to use wood. So it depends on what you have the most of and how urgent it is. And if you have both, then it's how urgent it is. If you have the ox or the dragon in your chart, your clash years will also be earth. You have no mitigation, you have to use wood. That's the only solution. And for the tiger and the rabbit, you can use water. If you have a lot of water, you can still use water. But fire will probably feel a little more natural. But if you have no fire, you can't use it. I mean, it's very hard to use. You can try, and it doesn't hurt, but you should always have water as a backup if you have no fire or very small fire. And for the snake, again, earth is a little more natural for you, but if you have more wood, you can use wood. And also, if it's not very urgent, wood is fine. And it may, learning more almost always helps you more in your life, later in life, that is. Now the horse, if this is your animal, again, now it's the other half of the thing. So horse years, that'll clash with the rat, or the rat will clash with you. And again, it's wood or earth, depending on which one you have more of. That's what you'll do. Of course, the goat and the dog have that problem. They only have the ability to use control. And so this tends to be, it solves the problem. It tends to be kind of more painful. A lot of times people with the goat or the dog or the ox or the dragon tend not to want to fix the problem because they find it painful. But then that problem just keeps coming up again and again. So at some point you just have to bite the bullet and do it. Learn something so that you can solve the problem and not have it keep coming back. And then we have the monkey and the rooster. They're metal animals. They're going to clash with the wood. You can use water or metal. You are metal yourself, which is which is a little weird. You may think, you know, but what it means is to accentuate that, is to do more concentration. Uh, but water is more gentle, probably a little easier for you. Of course, it depends what your levels are. And then the pig, I talked about this already. Wood is a really good solution. And the more you learn at any point, uh, the more easily you can use the wood. But water is also a possibility. Now, adding an animal or adding an element means increasing the activities that are natural for that particular element, which is, of course, also related to the animal sign. And again, this website, which I talked about earlier, it has all of the animal signs, and you have to scroll down close to the bottom, not exactly at the bottom. You will see all the animal signs listed, and you just pick whichever one you need. And this is really a very good website. I really suggest everybody look at this site. Now, again, the same ideas can be used to mitigate or control the harms and punishments. And I'm going to talk about that more in the specific videos when we get to it, because it's not as straightforward for the rest of these. Now, all of these negatively named interactions, the harms, the punishments, destructions, and the clashes too, uh, they, they are, these three need to have the pillars adjacent to each other to have the interaction occur. So it's not like a clash. A clash, if it's anywhere in the chart, it can affect you. But these guys, if they're not in adjacent pillars, you don't have to worry about them. So that's the good thing, because most people will have one of these in their chart somewhere. It just is very easy for that to happen because there's so many possibilities when you put all these into, take these all into account. So that's it. I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope that this was very useful to you. And, again, I want to take Ziwei Doshu at some point, but those classes are quite expensive, and that's why I'm asking you for donations. I won't take the class without this because I will never do Ziwei Doshu for for my business, nor will I do Batsa. So I'm just giving you guys this information because I can learn quite quickly and quite easily. So I'm using this as a shortcut for you, and I'm doing you a favor. I would like you to do me a favor. Thanks again.